History rarely produces figures who feel less like men and more like forces of nature. Napoleon Bonaparte was one such anomaly. Born on the rugged island of Corsica land, only recently annexed by France, he was an outsider. A young boy mocked for his thick accent and his supposedly lowly birth. Yet, this outsider would not only master the French language, but also the art of war, ultimately redrawing the very map of the Western world. His story is a powerful lesson in meritocracy, tactical brilliance, and the blinding, dangerous allure of an unchecked ego. Napoleon's incredible ascent was paved by the chaos of the French Revolution. In a society violently shedding its old skin, where the aristocracy was being dismantled by the guillotine, talent suddenly became the new currency. And Napoleon had it in spades. As a young artillery officer with a sharp, mathematical mind, he first proved his worth during the siege of Toulon. He didn't just follow orders, he saw the battlefield like a chessboard, calculating angles and trajectories to achieve victory. This was followed by the infamous whiff of grape shot in Paris, where he defended the new republic with ruthless efficiency, dispersing a royalist mob with cannon fire. He didn't just win battles, he optimized them. He understood that speed was the ultimate weapon, famously remarking that space we can recover, time never. He moved his armies with a speed that baffled his enemies, concentrating his forces at the enemy's weakest point before they even knew what was happening. This philosophy of rapid, decisive action would become the hallmark of his military genius. By 1804, the young general of the Republic had undergone a stunning transformation. He was now Napoleon I, Emperor of the French. He had crowned himself, taking the crown from the Pope's hands in a symbolic gesture that declared his power came from himself alone, not from God or tradition. His military victories are the stuff of legend. The Battle of Austerlitz, in particular, is still studied today as a tactical masterpiece. There, facing a larger, combined force of Russian and Austrian armies, he feigned weakness, lured them into a trap, and achieved a victory so complete it shattered the Third Coalition against France. He became a living myth, a symbol of invincibility, but to focus only on his battles is to miss half the story. Napoleon's true, lasting legacy might actually lie in his work as an administrator. He was a whirlwind of energy, often working 18 hours a day, micromanaging every aspect of his empire. He introduced the Napoleonic Code, a single, unified legal system that was revolutionary for its time. It abolished feudal privileges, established the equality of all male citizens before the law, and protected private property. This code was so influential that it forms the basis of civil law in dozens of countries to this day, from Europe to Latin America. He also reformed education, centralized the government, and stabilized the economy with the creation of the Bank of France. He was a man of the Enlightenment who ruled with the iron fist of an autocrat a walk-in. Contradiction who modernized Europe while crowning himself its master. But even the brightest stars eventually burn out. The turning point of the Napoleonic saga wasn't a tactical blunder on the battlefield, but a catastrophic failure to respect the limits of geography and nature. In 1812, driven by his ambition to enforce his continental system, an economic blockade designed to cripple his arch-nemesis, Great Britain, Napoleon made his fateful decision. He led his Grande Armée, a massive, multinational force of over 600,000 men, into the vast, unforgiving heart of Russia. It was an audacious gamble against the sheer scale of the landscape. The Russians refused to give him the decisive battle he craved. Instead, they retreated deeper and deeper into their own country, employing a brutal scorched earth policy, burning villages and crops, leaving nothing for the invading army to live on. Napoleon captured a deserted, burning Moscow, but it was a hollow victory. With no supplies and the brutal Russian winter setting in, he was forced to order a retreat. That retreat became one of the greatest disasters in military history. As the infamous General Winter arrived with its sub-zero temperatures, frostbite, and starvation, the Grande Armée simply dissolved. Men and horses froze to death on the road. Cossacks harried the streets. Of the more than 500,000 men who marched into Russia, only a tiny, broken fraction managed to stumble back out. The star of destiny that Napoleon had followed so blindly had finally begun to fade. The myth of his invincibility was shattered, and the nations of Europe, smelling blood, rose up against him once more. The end was as dramatic as the beginning. Defeated and forced to abdicate, Napoleon was exiled to the small Mediterranean island of Elba. But his story wasn't over. In a move of almost unbelievable audacity, he escaped his exile, landed in France, and began a march toward Paris. The soldiers sent to stop him, upon seeing their old emperor, threw down their weapons and joined him. He reclaimed his throne without firing a single shot, beginning a period known as the 100 Days. The world, however, had caught up to him. The Allied powers of Europe, who had fought him for over a decade, were not going to let him rise again. They assembled their armies for one final confrontation. At the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, the combined forces of Britain, Prussia, and their allies finally broke his army and his spirit. It was a close-run thing, a day of brutal, desperate fighting. But in the end, Napoleon was defeated for good. This time, there would be no second chances. He spent his final 6 years as a captive of the British on the remote, volcanic island of St. Helena in the middle of the South Atlantic. There, the man who had once dominated a continent could do little more than gaze at the endless ocean, dictating his memoirs and reflecting on a life that had moved too fast for the world to keep up. Napoleon Bonaparte remains one of history's most polarizing figures, a liberator to some, a warmongering tyrant to others. Was he the enlightened heir of the revolution who spread modern ideas across Europe? Or was he a dictator whose boundless ambition led to the deaths of millions? The truth, as it often is, lies somewhere in the complex gray area between. He was a man who believed he could bend history to his will through sheer force of personality, while his empire eventually crumbled. The echoes of his reign are everywhere, in the legal codes of nations across the globe, in the borders of modern Europe, and in the enduring, powerful myth of the great man who rose from nothing to conquer everything. He was, quite literally, the meteor that set the 19th century on fire. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the figures who shaped our world.